Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome and happy Friday. For anyone that's new here, the newcomers, this meetup is pretty straightforward. Okay, and all we do is we start with the question of the week, which is in the chat, and I'll also read it out, and then we have a mini discussion around it, and then we watch some videos, and then we'll come out comment around them as well. Feel free to raise your hand to basically add anything you want to add, and we'll get to you in the sequence that you raise your hand in. Kindly mute yourself if you're not the active speaker or if a video is playing in the background. And if you do happen to have any videos that connect spirituality and sciences, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll post them in the meetup comments. I will also be recording this meeting and be sharing it on YouTube, the event. So you don't have to come on camera if you don't want to. And basically, that will also be in the comments. And once basically I'm done editing the video, it will be up, assuming that the YouTube copyright content ID system doesn't flag it down. All right. So the question of the week is, does hard science and or applied sciences create unnecessary barriers or filters to speculative information against the need to know? Um, does anyone have any particular comments about that? If not, I'll start first. Okay. So the reason I asked this question is
I'm sorry to jump
this
in.
is a
I'm
very good
sorry to
question
jump
to
in.
ask. At least I feel especially now, a lot of people are kind of quote unquote awakening, which I believe is different than the woke movement. I could be wrong. And the reason for that is, um, I mean, there's something, right? Like hard sciences doesn't take into factor the energy concepts or the interrelationships of energy. And I'm not talking about the EM spectrum or wavelengths of light and so on and so forth. I'm just talking in general, like maybe if there was like mystical knowledge or let's say the occult sciences and stuff like that. That's the reason why I thought of this. And if I was to answer this, I think of information as like almost like a plasma state or like a gaseous substance. And if you don't have the right net to catch that information, let's say the hard sciences had a metaphorical net to catch information. If it's too porous, that information will kind of pass through or seep through. So that was the reason why I was thinking of that. So, Anthony, I do see your hand up, and I think you lowered it. So I see right now Alan's hand. So Alan, go ahead and unmute yourself. And Anthony, if you do want, please feel free to raise your hand again. Go ahead. And Alan, we can't hear you. You did unmute yourself. So yeah, you might want to check your mic.
I can't hear him.
All right. If there are no comments, we will just start with the first video. Okay. Give me a second to find the link.
The Tomb of Arcanus, one of the most powerful ancient sorcerers turned Lich Lord, said to have unlocked the secrets of the universe itself. Don't touch anything.
You think we came here for some stupid old spell scrolls? What a waste of time.
Just 3.
Stop looting and pay attention. This is important.
To break the first seal, answer this riddle. I am more powerful than fire or cold. You gain more of me as you grow old. What am I?
A riddle. Knowing Arcanus, this will be difficult, but if I put my mind to it, it's only a matter of time.
Knowledge.
What? Are you stupid? How could it possibly be knowledge?
Substantial boost to my intellect.
What?
Me? Put big brain circlet. on noggin. Would you like to learn?
All right, so that's just the first video for this evening, and I just purely found it by pure chance, and I found it funny, so I had to share with you guys. So a couple of things that stood out to me was this concept of how like sciences or alchemy or arcanic information um, it's hard to obtain in its entirety. But at the same time, you have to quote unquote travel to the ends of the world to find it. And also makes you wonder, like, what if ancient cultures had this information that was, done a different way? There's another video that kind of links to this was Euclidean geometry, where the Greeks had you know theorems and postulations and stuff like that to express mathematical concepts using diagrams compared to actual algorithms, which is what we are using today. So it's just a question of expression of form as well. And information has the word in it. So I found that interesting. And also, I believe there's a bit of a homage to the number 42 being the answer. I think that was mentioned in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they designed this all-knowing supercomputer, and it's asked, "What is the meaning of life?" And the answer was like, "Think 42." So that was interesting to note as well for myself. Any other comments about this video that you guys found interesting? Okay, and if you don't want to vocalize it, feel free to put it in chat as well. If I can get to it, I'll definitely read it. Um, and if not, we'll get on to the next video. Give me a second to find that.
From the linear domino fall model of time. Tell me about the mechanics of these waves.
Okay, so under standard causality, the past sends a linear causal wave forward. Yeah. Cause leads to effect. Simple.
Uh-huh.
But if our axiom holds, the future is simultaneously generating a retrocausal wave that moves backward. Effect leads back to cause.
Which means the present moment can't be a single moving point, like a dot on a line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead, where those two waves meet, we don't just get a simple sum, we get an interference pattern.
Ah, okay, like ripples in a pond.
Exactly like that, with a classic rule of fiction applied to reality, the Chekhov's gun principle.
In drama, the rule is gospel, right? If a rifle shows up in Act 1, it has to be fired by Act 3.
A mind governed by linear physics says, the rifle was placed there, therefore it could be shot later. It's a potentiality based on input.
But the narrative mind, it reverses the logic completely.
The rifle must be shot in Act 3 because the plot demands it, and therefore the author, let's say, retrofitted its appearance into Act 1.
The implication for your life is enormous. Events that seem totally accidental, a delayed train that makes you miss a connection but then saves you from an accident, or a chance conversation that introduces you to your life partner.
They're not just random physical collisions. They are, at their core, plot devices.
Narrative requirements disguised as fate.
Exactly. They are retrofitted into the timeline to ensure the grand climax, or a major realization in your life story, makes coherent sense. Causality, in this light, is just the internal consistency of the plot.
So accidents aren't glitches, they're essential structural elements that make sure the story holds together. This helps us understand why we create time in the first place. Which brings us to the second point, causality as data compression.
The universe, in its raw block universe state, is described by our sources as a soup of simultaneous events, an infinite, timeless now. All the data points exist at once.
And the human brain, our processing capacity, just can't handle that level of chaos. It would be total sensory overload.
So we invent systems to organize this unbearable chaos. We invent the concept of time, which is a technique for slicing that infinite simultaneous data into discrete, manageable frames.
And we invent the rule of causality to link those frames together into a sequence we can follow.
So cause and effect isn't a fundamental force, it's a compression algorithm.
A mental shortcut our consciousness uses to make the universe manageable, predictable, and, well, narratively engaging.
The implication is that the word because is a linguistic convention. We assign linearity to events to reduce the cognitive load.
Have moved us from the abstract narrative of the block universe into a concrete architectural framework.
A simulation framework. The entire cosmos is now conceptualized as a game engine, a massive, interconnected neural network of light.
And we, the characters, are the rendered region.
This is a powerful shift. It gives us a mechanism for how the timeless potential of the narrative becomes the temporal, tangible actual of our experience.
Read from that specific temporary lens. We've established the cosmic hardware, a digital self-training neural network of light. If that's true, we need to access the source code itself. And the ultimate tool provided by our listener for getting at that code is a profoundly simple mathematical move, setting the fundamental constants of physics to unity.
This practice, known as using natural units or Planck units, is more than just math. It's an act of ontological abstraction. We are stripping away all the arbitrary human-centric rulers, the inches, the grams, the seconds that we invented to measure the world.
Direct demonstration of its own premise.
The end goal was the magnet drawing our conversation forward.
We didn't invent the destination. We simply followed the logic until we remembered it.
The journey through forces, narrative, computation, and pure math. It all led us to that clear single note of, I am.
Our conversation proves that if you follow the logic of reality all the way to the end, whether you use cold equations or warm empathy, you meet yourself. The story is one.
And that is a powerful takeaway for you, the learner. You have been given a unified theory of reality where cause and effect, life and death, matter and consciousness all dissolve into the same underlying constant of frequency and connection.
Now you know the story is, in essence, already written.
And you have discovered the command line, that your consciousness, operating from that constant non-dual I am state, is the reader, the character, and the playhead.
So, if matter is ego and light is love, and your conscious thoughts are a localized frequency pattern capable of interacting with the matter code, what specific coherent instruction set will you choose to run now that you understand the rules of this Planck voxel reality?
If the future you is the error signal correcting the present, how will you cooperate with your own destiny?
Okay, that was pretty heavy and pretty synchronistic, at least for me. I think this video has only so far 778 views. I could be wrong. Um, I found it by pure coincidence. Uh, yeah, but I was taking notes. And I'll just translate my version of it. And feel free to raise your hand if you want to go next. Um, there's this thing about pull and push, where the future is pulling you to your final destination. No pun intended. And your past is pushing you. And there's this concept similar to the Brahma Kumaris, that they have. They call it Vinash forces, which is another word for violent forces. I think it's a Sanskrit word or a Hindi word. Um, and it's interesting that sometimes when you kind of procrastinate, could be a good example. You take your time and not do the thing that you need to do right away. Or fear could be another example, which would be it's attributed to like an emotion or emotional state one feels. You see that it's much more complex than just doing it, right? Not infringing on Nike's trademark there, but just doing it. I think is that pull force, versus a push force, which could be more complex. I think that's what they're trying to hint at. Yet at the same time, they're talking about complementary or coupling forces. So it's interesting if I looked at this pull and push, it almost looks like yin and yang, which I think was talked about in Avatar: Last Airbender with the koi fishes in the pond. If I'm not mistaken, that kind of reminds me of that. At the same time, there's this song, where they're talking about the present, and I was actually listening to it recently. It was stuck in the middle with you, and I think the artist was a Steelers wheel. But the rest of the lyrics were kind of forgotten, right? Like the part that reminds people mostly remember is like no 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 stuck in the middle with you. um and Yeah, so that was another thing that I was thinking of. And yeah, this concept of memories of future is equivalent to deja vu. That's an interesting concept too. And The possible variations of a block universe, where like if you was to say, okay, what does the universe need to do to bring all possible variables? If one was to take into account of all possible variables, um, like past, future, and present, it would be so complex. Like if it was a simulation or game or holographic theory that people talk about. So that's fascinating. So that means that if we could figure out weather, like that would be a good starting point, because weather, predicting weather is pretty complicated, and I think as a percentage that would be so tiny or fraction compared to the entire universe. Like if you say, okay, weather on other planets or weather in other galaxies. So I found that interesting as well. And just the general concept of this game engine or rendering of like an RPG or leveling up or the Matrix. It's also very fascinating because then it kind of is like a self-reflection or refraction of illusions. And then to get unity constants for length, time, and mass, that's cool too. And I think they kind of touched on this concept of it's a question too I can propose. I mean, for future stuff, and that would be this rocks. Rocks have consciousness. I mean, that's why we had pet rocks back in the day, right? And also in that movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. There's this thing where there's these like googly eyes that are there on these rocks, and they're kind of edging towards the cliff. So yeah, it kind of reminded me of that. um that's all I have to say. Any other comments on that particular video? And if not, if anyone does have anything to say, I can stick around for another 15 minutes ish. And if not, respecting everyone's time, feel free to leave or drop off the call. And thank you so much for being here. I will post the edited video slash links soon. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for the heart.